Farm4Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit podcast.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Farm4Fun podcast on this one. We have the Farm and Some Bitch is who we have on the podcast, but we always ask all our listeners to like, rate, review, and we hope that we're giving content you like. And if you want to follow us, make sure to do that. If you have suggestions, we're at 600 plus episodes. We always need content. So if you have ideas, we want to
connect at farm4profit.com. That's the number 4. That's the best way to reach us. Most of our guests come through that. And you can also call or text us and leave a voicemail or text 515-207-9640. If any of you guys want to text that today, we will not get it, but I do encourage you to, because Tanner's getting it back in Iowa and he'll be bothered by it. And we love to bother Tanner with text messages. So 515-207-9640. But with that,
every time we do a Farm for Fun episode, Corey has a great opening. So introduce our next guest.
All right. Today on the Farm for Fun show, we are off of our normal beaten path to hang out with our friends, farming friends in New York. In the Midwest, we do not often think of New York as agriculture, especially corn and soybeans. But we have a man here today to set the record straight. This man, the first generation farmer in Western New York, where he shows the world on social media how he farms corn, soybeans, wheat, rye, black beans, pumpkins, Christmas trees, sheep, a few sheep. Yep. And he shows the whole world that. But you may know him best from his tractor show. Please welcome from Western New York, the Farm and Some Bitch, Mr. Tom Corcoran.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. I'm honored.
I had to get the sheep in there.
I had to.
I heard it was such a big part of the farm last night.
And last night we had dinner with these guys, and we talked about my wife's got a small shop, flock of sheep. One of our board members, she also has a flock of sheep that she tries to make money with. Ours are just pets, but these guys were shocked to know there's 88,000 sheep in New York State, according to the ag statistics. So
I'm glad you got your list there.
I got it. We're going to go over
how many do you have? 8?
We've got 8. So
8 emotional support sheep?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what they are?
Yeah. No matter how bad a day you're having, you get down to the barn, see them cute little sheep, and it's all better.
Well, Tom, let's start with New York. So as Corey said in the opening, in the Midwest, a lot of people think Iowa, Illinois, all the I states for corn and soybeans. I didn't typically think of New York when I thought of that. I just think New York City, and we're nowhere close to that. As we've got to the western half of the state here, what do you guys all grow here? I mean, you had a list. You had a whole gamut there.
So we're 350 miles away from New York City.
Okay.
So long ways away. So we have some very fertile soil up here. You're going to see today we're going to do our award ceremony after lunch or during lunch, and or maybe that's at the end. But we have some great yields in New York State. Some of these growers are as good as any grower anywhere.
I saw some 300 bushel yields.
Yes, there's some very good growers and some very good soils in New York State. So, and you got to be a little tougher, a little different kind of cat to survive growing crops in New York State. I like to pick on these guys. Anybody could farm where they are. That's probably not true, but we have our own unique sets of challenges. But do we want to go over a few numbers in New York State?
Absolutely. We're here to learn about it. What do you got? He's got a special sheet here.
I am here to underwhelm you guys. So in New York State, there's we grow over 1 million acres of corn. 550,000 of that is combine for grain. And I use 2024's numbers because 2025 in New York State was a disaster weather-wise. But in 24, we had 170 bushel average. Not bad for up in the North Country. Silage, there's roughly 450,000 acres is harvested for silage, mostly for dairy cows. The average yield is 19 ton an acre. Soybeans in 24, we had 370,000 acres, and we had 51 bushel average. So, I mean, I think that's pretty respectable for up here where we have a short growing season.
You guys have a handful of dairies in New York, correct?
So, dairy cows. Glad you asked, David. There's 630,000 milk cows plus young stock.
At Ag Explorer, farmers always come first.
In late 2025, Tim, the CEO at Ag Explorer, and I had a conversation, and he made it clear that while costs are rising in agriculture, Ag Explorer is holding prices steady for the 2026 growing season.
That's right. It's a commitment to the farmer that has been unmatched. At Ag Explorer, agronomic solutions are built on trust, integrity, and putting farmers first always.
Learn more at www.agexplore.com. That's AGXPLORE.com.
Beef cows, there's only 100,000, but that's more than I thought, to be honest with you. The average farm size in New York State is only 213 acres.
Wow.
But there's a lot of smaller farms, truck farms, and different things. So then I was looking through while I was going through. There's 135,000 acres of winter wheat grown. We grow some. Sweet corn, we grow about 450 acres. Our friend here that harvests our corn today, they grow considerably more. But there's roughly 22,000 acres of sweet corn grown in the state. Ours goes to a freezing processor. Pumpkins, our son Troy grows pumpkins. 4,400 acres of pumpkins grown. Green beans. A couple of our board members grow green beans. I used to have a custom green bean harvesting business with a partner. 15,000 acres. Peas, 8,000. Cabbage, 6,400. And the last two, maple. There's 850,000 gallons of maple syrup produced a year.
Cow.
So nothing compared to Vermont, but still, that seems like a lot of syrup.
Let's do a little crowd participation here, just so we know, as the host here, how many people are corn growers?
Should be everyone.
Should be
right?
everybody.
That's corn and
here.
soybean.
Okay. How many people are more than 2 crops? Let's do that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In Iowa, that would have been hands down.
Is anybody more than 4 crops?
Oh, yeah.
Still half the room.
Yeah.
Anybody more than 6 crops? Wow.
Several. Yeah.
Several. How many people have side businesses that don't just farm? You have something else you do on the side. You sell insurance, sell seed, something like that. It's about half the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious of generation. So in Iowa, I'm a 5th generation farmer, which is I might get into a few 6. Is there 7th generation farmer out here?
Over here, couple.
1, 2, any 8s? You get to the East Coast over here and you get into some prehistoric things. It's pretty cool, because we went west. So.
Yeah.
But no, we're here to learn more about you, Tom. So
Oh, boy.
we want to hear about little Tom and how. And did you grow up here? Were you always in ag?
So I use the term first generation kind of loosely. So I grew up on a dairy farm. My brother still milks 50 cows in Batavia, New York. So I started working for a guy when I was 20, probably 7, 8 years in. He and I started a green bean harvesting business. We bought a little bit of land together, but I didn't really farm with him per se. In 2010, my wife and I started working a little bit of the ground that we owned and bought a little bit of junk equipment, an old 4430, an old John Deere 7000 planter, and probably started farming with $40,000 worth of junk equipment. Bought a little GT dryer we ran out in the driveway before we had a storage barn or a shop or anything, and just been lucky, had some side hustles. I worked full time for probably another 10 years. And then I thought my goal was I was going to be a part-time farmer and have a job, like say with the local township. I plowed snow for like 14 years and nothing more fun than getting up at 3:30 in the morning plowing snow, risking your life to make people mad at you because you're blocking the road. And so we just were fortunate. Things started going. One thing led to another. And now, ever since Troy graduated college, he's 29 now. He's been home on the farm, and my wife was able to quit her job to take care of her parents when their health was failing. And I'd be remiss if I didn't add Colleen, that's our executive director. She told me, you got to mention Lead New York. So there's a leadership program run through Cornell, and I was in the class in 2001. A couple of my classmates are here today. And that, I think, gave me the confidence. It gave me the connections that when I was ready to start trying to farm, one of my friends was a banker, and it kind of helped give me the extra shot in the arm I needed to have the confidence to start farming.
It's interesting. Corey, you made this comment that nobody leaves, they work their entire life in farming and say, man, I want to retire and become a plumber.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that say, I'm going to work my whole life because I want to get into agriculture and I want to do this.
And I want to retire from whatever. Yeah. So, you talk about side hustles. So we still sell seed. We, for 6 winters, Troy and I hauled road salt. There's a salt mine 18 miles away from our farm. So we hauled, a couple of my friends in here still haul road salt. And this is our 4th winter not doing it. But that was the cash flow we needed in the wintertime. So from basically middle of December to the middle of March, we trucked 5 or 6 days a week to try to make a little extra money. And so in 2018, I think we were farming a little over 500 acres and doing some custom work. And now we're 1,800 acres, and we still do a little bit of custom work and do the seed, but it's pretty much Troy, Diane, and I, and we get a couple part-time guys to drive truck in the fall. But a lot of people in here, like you say, you saw the hands go up, have some type of side business, custom work, dirt work, trucking, drainage tile, something. It's very rare. And I don't know how that is in the rest of the country, but we talked about it a little bit last night that there's very few guys, at least that start farming, that don't have something to keep them fully employed, keep that check coming in.
Let's go back to that for a second. So you were starting into farming, and you said you went and bought a bunch of junky equipment. Did your wife know you bought that equipment?
Well, I told the story last night. So the first 4430 and loader and a little dump truck. One night she went to work. She was a waitress. She went off to work, and I snuck over to this guy. Unfortunately, he'd passed away, and an older fellow was helping the widow sell the equipment. I bought the 4430 and a loader and whatever, and probably had $500 in my checking account at the time. And I wrote the lady at IOU. These guys said I should frame it, but I wrote her a check for $500, and I said in the next 10 to 14 days I'll be back with the other $22,000. Diane got done with work, called me up, honey, what'd you do tonight? She's thinking I said mow the lawn, weed whacked.
Yeah.
I went and bought $22,500 worth of equipment. So we don't have any money. So one of the connections in the lead class, I called him up the next day. I said, hey, you got to do me a solid. What's that? Loan me $22,000 real quick. What'd you buy? I told him. He said, all right. And we still have the 4430. The corn planter's gone, but we talked last night that young guys getting into the business. So I was 40 the first year. We technically farmed on our own, but young guys want to start out with a S680 combine, and they want to start out with a big tractor or whatever. And until 3 years ago, I still sprayed with that old 4430 on a pull type sprayer. We were farming 1,500 acres, and I just run the wheels off that little tractor. And 3 years ago, our most used tractor on the farm until 3 years ago was a 4650. Troy had rebuilt the motor and redid the transmission. So if people look at my Instagram now, oh, look, they got a 9420. Well, we bought that out of Illinois. That was a used tractor. We bought a 400 Steiger 3 years ago and a 12-row strip tiller. So if anybody thinks it was easy, they don't see the 110-hour weeks I worked, because I had a full-time job and then full-time farm. And we talked last night, too. One of the things, we've got neighbors, and these guys know people that, they're my age, and they're still the kid. Dad still runs the corn planter, or runs the combine. Because I had a full-time job, Troy was in high school. Go strip till that field. FaceTime me if you think it's questionable. He would FaceTime me. I think it's good to go. All right, trust your judgment. So he was thrown into, you got to make decisions as a 17-year-old kid, 18, now he's whatever. There's never been a mechanical project that he couldn't handle. He went to school, to diesel school down in Cobleskill, and there's never been a project. I told these guys last night, if I had told Troy different times, you can't handle that, can you? He probably would have said, probably not. But when I say, you can handle that, right? And he'd be like, yeah, I can handle that. So there's a lot of things that have led us. I always say, he didn't have the ability to rebuild the motors and do the things he's done, if we had to send everything out, I don't think our farm would have survived. There's a lot of things that happened to make us, to make this work. But 2011, I was telling these guys last night, we had a real tough growing season. It was our second year farming. We put up a Morton shell that's now our heated shop, put up a used aerator bin, and put electric out to the bin, cost a fortune, to the shop, and just had a real tough growing season. Didn't have any crop insurance history at the time, so it was hard to get any crop insurance money. Corn yields are bad. I had an old 8820 combine. That fall I combined 1,100 acres of that old thing. No grain cart. Probably 250 acres of that was ours. The rest was custom work. When those checks come in, that was what kind of kept us afloat. So now we've got a S680. We've got a 9670. People are like, oh, they got two, and they're older combines, whatever. We don't work all that many acres, but they don't see all the nights that I spent till midnight filling trucks with an 8820 with no grain cart, So
I'm trying to think of how you had the confidence to go in the hole. I mean, that's going all in. You went all in and then some.
Oh, yeah.
To write that IOU. What was giving you the confidence that you were going to make it?
Diane, she said, we can do this. So
yeah.
I never never doubted my ability. She never doubted my ability, and I didn't doubt my ability. And again, we were fortunate. There was a lot of circumstances that led to making it work. But if she didn't have faith in me, and my banker buddy had a little faith in me, stuck his neck out for a while.
Yeah, what'd you get for an interest rate on that?
It wasn't so bad. And then after a couple of years, we switched to Farm Credit, and we've had great loan officers at Farm Credit. And I always maybe risk a little more than I should. I maybe always make my banker and my wife a little uncomfortable. But I guess that's what's led us to now farming 1,800 acres and doing what we've done. And
so let's talk about the scope of farming. You said 1,800 acres. Obviously, we're at the corn and soybean growers event here. What all do you farm?
So we grow 450 acres of sweet corn, maybe 600 of field corn. We've been growing dry beans. This year, we're not sure because of the markets, but then soybeans. Winter wheat, we got like 375 acres of winter wheat in. There's a good straw market because of the dairy guys, so the straw helps make wheat a little bit profitable. That's basically it. That's our main crops. Then
you planted some Christmas trees. Have you sold any of those?
Not yet. A couple years ago.
Yeah.
When did we plant them? 21. It was right after COVID, or 20. Might have been spring of 20. So they're about yay size. So we got to get pruning them, and I don't know. We're just hoping that's a little side hustle for Troy and his wife that they can sell. And
are you hoping for like agritourism out of that, or just
we're not sure. So we're going to get to the tractor show in a little bit.
Yeah.
We I don't think anybody thought we could get hundreds of people to our farm to a little silly backyard tractor show. So I think if we wanted to do it, we could get people to the farm. We're not 100% sure if we want to do that yet.
When you in New York, to even the audience here, when I think 1,000 acres in Iowa, sometimes that's contiguous. All just one piece. Drop the
I don't
36
have
row
any
and
fields like
go. What's your normal size piece?
So I was telling these guys last night, we farm 64 fields, average field size of 28 acres. And they're like, that's terrible. And I said, we got friends that have 10-acre average field size. And then there's guys up by the lake that have much bigger fields. And we've worked to make them fields as big as they are, taking out hedgerows. And
yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little different than I went out and visit my friends a couple of years ago. I went out to North Dakota to visit some of my friends, and they split their 640 sections into half sections.
Yeah.
Mile-long rounds. I'd be bored. I have ADHD. I'd be so bored in a mile long. But you'd be efficient.
Yeah.
No hedgerows, no raccoon damage, once you get that field open, you're cranking bushels.
What about your markets? So in Iowa, we can throw a rock and hit an ethanol plant, for corn. So where are you going?
One of the guys on our board is the CEO of the Western New York Energy up in Medina, New York. So about half our corn goes up there. Currently, I believe the basis is a positive 65, partly because we had a
sounds nice
poor season. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We had a poor growing season. So our farm, we were down 70 bushel from the year before. But we've got a lot of dairy. So half our corn goes to the feed mill to be ground. Half goes to the ethanol plant. So there's one ethanol plant in New York State currently.
Just one?
Just one.
Oh.
There was two, but
not anymore.
They do a phenomenal job. So they're a really good market. It's great for us. So and they have to rail some corn in this year because of the shortage of corn in New York
so you're
State.
Importing corn.
Importing a little corn from Ohio.
What about on the soybean side?
Soybeans, some of our soybeans, there's a guy here that has a few people here that take local soybeans and have processing. And then some of them get shipped to Canada. They don't all get used in New York State. Out of that 370,000 acres, some get exported, but we're working on it. And the dairy industry uses a lot of beans.
Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, I've actually started growing some Plenish soybeans on our farm. It sounds like I thought it was dead in Iowa. I hadn't heard about it for a while, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a pretty big thing in New York State.
Yeah, very cool. Well, you mentioned the tractor show, so we have to talk about it. And I think that's where you got your name, right?
Yeah. So I don't have enough on my plate. So I decided, what would be really cool we used to do a field day for our seed corn company the Thursday before Labor Day.
Okay.
And we'd always have a few leftover chicken halves and a little bit of leftover food and drink. So I said, it'd be cool if I invite like a dozen of my buddies that got old tractors in the barn, but don't really want to take them to a real tractor show and register or whatever. So I was asking, Corey last night, and he said he's got an old 4020 that was in the family.
Yep.
So I started inviting a few guys and said, hey, this was like this time of year, I come up with this stupid idea in 2018 that we're going to invite a few friends over.
Prior to COVID, okay.
Prior to COVID, yep. So we just called a few friends, and the more people we talked to, I said, man, this is going to be more than eat the leftover chickens. we're gonna actually maybe need to have some food here and whatever. So one night I said, we got to come up with a cool name. A neighbor of ours has a car show called the Hardcore Happening. I'm like, that's a cool name. I don't know why it come to me. Call it the Sumbitch Show. And the acronym is Some Unique Machines Brought In to Commemorate History. And the Sumbitch Show was born.
Got it.
So we bought a bunch of T-shirts, invited a bunch of people. A bunch of people in this room were at the first inaugural show, and it just kind of stuck. So then I said, well, you can't just have a tractor show just for no reason. So Diane's dad had passed away in 2016 from Alzheimer's. So I said, honey, what if we try to raise a couple $100 for Alzheimer's? We'll charge $5 admission, which is still the admission price. And if we can raise a couple $100 for Alzheimer's and bring awareness to the cause, that'd be kind of a cool thing, we thought. So first year we raised $3,000. We're like, that's pretty cool. We had raffle baskets and whatever. And then next year, $3,000. Then COVID hit. So we're like, well, I don't know if we'll ever do it again. But we sold T-shirts online through Instagram. And so that went well. And then fast forward, 3 years ago, we raised $25,000. 2 years ago, we raised $42,000. This year, we raised $40,000. So
wow.
The local farming community is super generous, and we probably had over 150 items there this year. I think over 100 items. We could take a little 6-mile parade at 11 a.m. around the neighborhood, just a square block. We just take a little 6-mile loop, and people from all over the state, all over the country. I've had Instagram friends from Texas, North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, New Jersey, Ohio. And this year, a friend of mine, an Instagram buddy of mine, showed up unannounced from Italy. Yep. And he claims he's coming back this year. So next winter, I'm going to try to return the favor, go visit him next March.
See, Corey, you're wrong. He's not the Sumbitch. It's an acronym.
Once in a while, when my wife says it, I can't tell if it's like joking or if she's serious.
Okay.
Did you sit down and like write that out, or just popped you in your head?
It popped to me in my head, and I yelled at Diane, hey, write this down. This might work.
If
so
farming doesn't work out, I think you got a job in the government. You could give some of the acronyms.
I could come up with some acronyms. So in 2019, I think the next question is going to be, how did the Instagram start, right?
Yeah, if that's what you want it to be.
Well, we'll figure to that. We'll figure to that. So in 2019, we were at the Commodity Classic. Being on the corn and soybean board, got the opportunity quite a few times to go to Commodity Classic. Great show. I always tell anybody that hasn't been, you need to go to it. I mean, local farm shows are great, but to me, it's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville in a few weeks. But that's fine. But I think you learn a bit more. And when we go as board members for corn and soy, we're involved with the American Soybean Association and National Corn Growers Association. So I get to sit in and be a voting delegate for corn, National Corn Growers, and some of the other guys on the board and ladies on the board are on ASA. So we were down in Orlando in 2019, and a buddy of mine said, I'm going to set you up on Instagram. I'm like, Insta what? And he's like, a little hashtag thingy, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, okay. He said, your kids will explain it to you. So our last name is Corcoran. It's Irish, C-O-R-C-O-R-A-N. Nobody can say it. Nobody can spell it. It's Irish. Loosely translated, it means mediocre farmer, I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I said, you know what? As a joke, he said, what, you want me to just use your name? And I'm like, nah, call me Farm and Sumbitch. As a joke, I thought a couple weeks, and then I would, kind of stuck. So then I'm like, okay, now I'm stuck with it. So now we decided, this is cool. Let's, I wasn't really a big social media. I still don't have Facebook. I think I have a Facebook account, but I never respond to anything on Facebook. And so I would kind of to mock social media. The first few times I did post, I'd go, Farm and Sumbitch here. And then if Diane would join in, she'd say, Mrs. Farm and Sumbitch here, just kind of to mock it. Well, then I did that a few times. I'm like, oh, that's silly. And then everybody's like, dude, that's your shtick. You got to stick with it. So I don't do that as much as we used to. But occasionally, if we talk about the tractor show or something, we'll do our little shtick. And so here we are.
Yeah. I mean, the power of social media, right? You
crazy.
Reaching across the world, someone from Italy showing up.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We've got friends all over the world. And like meeting you guys last night. We were talking to my mom on a ride down, and she can't comprehend how weird it would be to meet two strangers that you're friends with on social media. Yeah. But I mean, it's just, to me, when I meet the people I'm friends with on social media, it's not that weird and awkward, because you kind of already know. I watch your podcast. I listen to your podcast. I watch your YouTube videos. kind of already know you
Well,
guys.
Corey, you used social media back when Twitter was really big.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times our neighbors, although they're in the room here, sometimes they don't want us to be successful.
Or they get reserved.
You go to the coffee shop, it's a little bit reserved to what are you doing? How'd you get such a good crop? But you reached out to people all over.
Yeah, it's like the virtual coffee shop.
Yeah.
I can reach out to over here to the East Coast. I can reach out to Illinois. I can reach out to California and talk to friends from there. And how are you doing this? And a lot of times they might be growing something different, but it's a business. We're farming, and you can always pull stuff around. It's like it's having a good team around you.
Yeah. So, like in my case, I'm in a couple group chats, and the one's pretty big. There's probably 25 guys in it. And one of the guys, he's been at our tractor show. Unfortunately, they had a tragic farming accident, and his 2-year-old son got killed. But we use that as a support group. So we do, glizzy hot dog memes, fart jokes, all the way to, talking about suicide prevention, alcoholism, drug use. I don't know. Were you talking about out in, did you say, what state did you come from?
Montana.
And he joked, and I got friends that farm in South Dakota, and it's alcohol, drugs, farming. That's like the three things to do. I mean, and so we have, in our group chats, we have very serious conversations. And again, we could talk rents, we could talk machinery things and whatever, because we're not directly competing with these guys. And these guys in this room are all my competitors, but all our friends. It's just a little something different when, like you say, you cross the state line and they're never going to compete with you on a piece of land or anything. You can be super honest. And
When did you get involved in the association side of things?
Boy, it's been so long. It's like a sentence. No, it's been probably 10 years, right? I'm assuming. Yeah,
They don't term you out and kick you
No,
off?
so yes. So technically you do. So you're vice president for 2 years, president for 2 years. In October 1st, our friend Brad took over as president. So now I'm advisor on the board for 2 more years. So I'm still a voting member of the board, and then I'm off. So it was one of them experiences too that got on the board, didn't know what to expect. It might take a little more time than I initially thought, but it's extremely rewarding. And the people in the room, I'm a below average intelligence guy that tries to surround myself with really smart people, and it usually works out for me. And the people on the board, I come to every board meeting, and after the meeting, I go away, and I'm like, wow, it was so great talking to so-and-so, so-and-so. I mean, I learned so much from the people that I'm surrounded with. And we're doing great things in the state and in the country. And the people that we get to interact with, I would never meet the Secretary of Agriculture and different people if I wasn't a member of the or excuse me, not a member, but on the board. It's great being a member, but it's even better being on the board.
What pushed you to get involved?
A friend of mine called me and said, come to a meeting. I think you should be on the board. And so this leadership class I was in, one of the caveats is when you get out of it, you're supposed to commit to doing something public service-wise to help the industry or your community. And what better fit for the farming some bitch to be on the corn and soybean board, right? So, I mean, farming is my passion. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day. He's not here today, but we were talking. I mean, same thing. A lot of people go to work and they meet at the bar afterwards so they could complain about people at work, but talk about other stuff, talk about their families and sports. What do us farmers do? We go to the bar. We want to talk about farming some more. Yeah. Like, hey, been farming all day. Want to talk about farming for 3-4 hours until we go and do it again tomorrow? Of course we do. Yeah. So coming to something that is, no offense to a school board or something like that, but this is my passion. So when we get to a meeting, it's actually fun, and I understand what we're talking about and what we're doing. And a rising tide raises all ships. So we're trying to, as an association, raise all the ships around us.
Yeah. So what are some of the big things that you guys are doing to help everyone?
So we do research. We do a lot of, Colleen gave me a cheat sheet, but we lobby in Albany. One of our lobbyists is here. You guys met him at dinner last night. They do a great job. So we have a firm that we hired to help us lobby because there's just so much going on in politics right now. It'd be impossible to keep track of it all as a board. We're all full-time farmers on the board pretty much, or have full-time jobs. Colleen's full-time job is being the executive director. We just would never be able to keep track of everything going on. So we hire them, make a few trips a year to Washington to lobby, at least a couple trips a year. And that's huge. And then we invest money into research, and it's just funny too being on the board. The things that farmers don't realize that are coming down the pipe. In New York State, we've got a situation with there's right now legally they're going to ban neonic seed treatments January 1st, 2029. So we fought tirelessly for that, and there might be some ways around and stuff. But anyways, that was the thing that and national corn growers and different organizations are like, well, it's not that big a deal because it doesn't involve us yet. Well, if it passes in New York, last I checked, Illinois got this big city up north called Chicago.
Yeah.
Those people are going to get on board. And then you start looking at, Minneapolis and different places. So we're almost, I don't know, a few things, believe it or not, start in our little part of the world. And
so normally we think of it's coming from California. Normally.
Right.
So we're getting it from the west. Now you're saying it's coming from the east, and we're going to get pinched in the middle.
as well. Yeah. So we do a lot of work with that. And
So really, you're our frontline defense. We need to stop this stuff.
we're trying.
Anytime I think
No
of
pressure.
association, I think of the voice. It's the
Right.
voice of our industry. I don't get the chance to go to Washington or do any of that kind of stuff, but of course that's why we hire associations and whatnot. But when I think of them making a voice for us out there, I think, well, it represents all the constituency that's here. How important do you think that your constituency here, everybody in this room, how important is agriculture to New York?
So I use this analogy that there's a little boy walking down the beach and he's throwing starfish that washed up on the beach out into the ocean. And somebody comes along and says, "You're not making a difference." And he says, "For this one, I am." So there's not that many full-time corn and soybean growers, let's say in New York State. But the people in New York State that make their living on corn and soybean, it's very important to us.
Important.
So as a whole across the country, when you look at the 17 billion bushel of corn that were produced, New York doesn't produce that much. However, to our farms and to our region, it's extremely important. So, and the misconception that there's no agriculture in New York State, when we show up at these meetings and we show up in Washington, D.C., and we show up at the National Corn Grower Meeting at Commodity Classic, and we have a vote, that's huge, in my opinion. And the guys can be back here trying to run their business and be efficient and make money, knowing that there's somebody on their side so they don't have to take the time and go and do these things.
Just wait till the next report comes out. They'll find some more bushel for you.
17.4 billion bushels. Great.
When you go to Albany, when you go to D.C., do you feel like people are actually listening to you?
They do.
Yeah.
I think so. We've made some great connections, in my opinion. And and the other thing is, they get bombarded with lobbyists all the time. But when a farmer that is making his living or her living is in there and looking them in the eye, how do you not have a little compassion for little old farming sumbitch in New York State? But we're not necessarily asking for handouts, but we're all asking for a fair shake. The whole industry, and we want to be on the level playing field, and we want our voices heard, and so.
Well, as winter comes to an end, it's time to start thinking ahead. Spring preparation starts now, and Sukup is here to help you get ready.
From grain bins and dryers and material handling to storage solutions, Sukup provides the equipment farmers rely on season after season.
Now it's time to plan, prep, and get your operation ready for that big rush.
Visit Sukup.com to explore products and find trusted Sukup dealer near you.
Sukup, bins built better.
That's good. I just my conception of it. It kind of reminds me of Illinois, right? You said Chicago. It kind of runs the whole state, even though the rest of the state is all agriculture. I mean, New York, there's a lot of agriculture, but you got a lot of city type people thinking too. So I imagine there's some pretty uphill challenges.
Yeah. I did forget to mention there's 46,000 acres of apples in New York State.
Oh, yeah.
So there's just different things that you think about it like an apple that is directly off the tree consumed.
Yeah.
So people are concerned about sprays and different things. So New York State, California, we're the two. So it's just there's a lot of pressure on New York.
You guys have the Erie Canal isn't far from here, correct? And
Correct.
so water is huge in our world. From if we've got to travel and go out to Nebraska, of course everything's irrigated. You get to Iowa, we're drain tiling everything to get water away. Do you guys do a whole lot of drain tile here?
A lot of drain tile.
You do? Okay.
Yep. So the land that we own is pattern tiled, and like I say, we take the hedgerows out, make the fields bigger. We personally don't have any irrigation. There are people that do in New York State, but in our local neighborhood, there's no water table. Our well for our house is 160 feet deep, and until 2 weeks ago, we were supplementing that with municipal water we were bringing in. So I'd put up a couple small pivots if I had a water source.
I see. How many people in the crowd are using tile? Just kind of curious.
Oh yeah,
Everyone.
look at that.
Okay, so yeah,
How about irrigation?
handful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting. You got a lot of rocks too.
We got a lot of rocks.
Is that everywhere in New York or just where you're at?
I would say pretty much everywhere in New York. Up by the lake, not so much, Phil.
He just
Yeah.
gave you the 6'7".
So the six. So Corey says they've got rocks, and I'm not going to dispute that he doesn't have rocks, but he doesn't have our kind of rocks, does he, Trey?
So is it to the point where you just farm? Are they farmable rocks, or you got to go pick them up?
When we plant corn, if it's smaller than a volleyball, sometimes it gets left. We run
Just
a rock
look the other way. If you don't make eye contact with it,
You don't make eye contact with it. We don't run a chopping corn head currently.
Yeah.
Let that nose cone bounce over that thing, and So we have a lot of rocks. We spend a lot of time picking rocks.
Yeah,
But
it is.
It's okay.
If you're combining at night and you have a chopping corn head and you hit one of those, it's a pretty good spark shot.
Yeah. One year we had chopping corn head. I think we made it 3.5 acres into the season, hit a rock and destroyed a gearbox. And I'm like, we might have to rethink our rock picking
Do you
strategy.
guys roll any of your beans? Corey's been beating up his beans, but push down those rocks.
We roll them all usually like the day we plant them.
Yeah.
The dry beans and the soybeans, just to be able to direct cut them without any trouble. Lot of Roxy size,
Okay.
but not every. We've got some ground that's gravel like driveways, and then we got some fields that there's only a couple rocks per acre.
Yeah.
And then we're like, yes, that's pretty good going right there. So we strip till. I know we talked this that you strip till on your farm. So strip till is something we went to in 2011. Originally, I went to it for speed. I had a full-time job. If I got done at work at night at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, I could go out and strip till with a 6-row machine, get 20, 25 acres ready to plant the next night, had a nitrogen tank on the strip till rig. We saw the soil health benefits. We got some friends that were doing it for years. It's pretty common practice. Speed tillers, a lot of speed tillers because they're fast and easy to run, and they handle rocks surprisingly well. Strip tiller brings up rocks, but that was something we did on our farm to try to make things.
Yeah.
So we, a couple of weeks ago, I saw a stat about what percentage of acres are cover cropped in the United States. And we hadn't talked about this beforehand or whatever, but so I asked my wife and I asked my son, and a couple other people, and what percentage of acres are cover cropped in the United States?
Boy, I would say under 5.
Yeah, it's like 4.7.
Yeah.
On our farm, it's probably 75%.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in New York State, a lot of cover crops. If we take our wheat off in the summer, we cover crop it. If we take our beans off in the fall, we put some type of cover crop on it. Corn a lot of times comes off too late. November.
Does anybody plant like triticale for the dairies?
Dairy guys plant it, harvest it, then get the short season corn in, then get that chopped off, triticale back in, put manure on it once or twice a year, and that's a pretty good.
Probably big.
So what covers are you using?
We typically stick with winter wheat. We do some rye in the summertime. Last year was so dry, we didn't waste our money with like crimson clover or clover or anything because it wouldn't have got established anyways. So we just use oats or something on that ground. But wheat and one, we grow it. So if we have a wet fall and we don't get it all on, it's easy to take to the mill and sell it. And 2, it doesn't get away from us in the spring. So even if it heads out, we can still strip till through it. If it's too wet to get out and spray, rye one day is this big, and you come back 4 days later, and it's like, whoa, it's taller than me.
Track. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because we do a little bit of cover crop, and I was wondering if you were doing rye, that would be sometimes a problem in the spring.
Yeah.
So.
But that's just us on our farm. A lot of people use rye, triticale, different things.
Yeah, we went to strip till just for the logistics. Kind of like you said, it was just my dad and I before my brother came back to the farm, and it was just my dad was we were trying to run the field cultivator, the planter, the sprayer, and tend to all of those with 2 people, and it was just a merry-go-round of equipment. It couldn't do it. So
so it works pretty good for us. I mean, Troy typically runs the strip tiller. He does a lot of the planting as well, but if he can get 10 acres an hour done, put the nitrogen in the slot and come back, plant it the next day. I try to keep the sprayer going, and we even strip till our sweet corn ground.
Okay.
We strip till for the sweet corn. Works pretty well.
You did tell us that you bought a high-speed tillage piece, right?
Yeah, we did. So there was a question on here that said, what's the most sumbitch thing you ever bought? And I think it was 2 weeks ago yesterday, we we bought something foolish that we'll probably regret, but it'll be cool for a couple hours. We bought a 1985 Panther 4 to pull the speed tiller.
Oh.
And then we found out after we bought it, everybody that's Steiger experts, the old school Steiger, said you can't pull very fast with them because you'll tear the transmission out of them.
Oh, no.
Well, that's a great piece of information to know. But at least we found out now, not Memorial Day weekend when we tear the transmission out of
But
them.
you'll look good doing it.
We're going to look great for that first couple hours, man.
It sounds great too. You showed me
Oh, it's going to be
video
good.
last night.
It's going to be good.
So you have a ton of equipment on your Instagram, and you're normally posting something with equipment, whether it's your wife on the 40 or whatever it is. You guys have horse equipment around here, which the Red brand, and we don't see that as much in the Midwest. Tell me about that a little bit.
So you met our friend Phil at breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
So they, I would say, are the ones that pioneered bringing in horse equipment. Yep. His dad, Jim's sitting there shaking his head. Yep. So we last fall, we demoed an Avatar 40-foot air seeder, 10-inch spacings. Normally we plant winter wheat at a 7.5-inch spacing, but they've had great luck with horse equipment, and it holds up extremely well to our rocky conditions.
I think Germany, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
Germany. Yeah.
So they have some very high quality equipment. We got a great dealer in Batavia, New York that handles it. So we currently don't own any. They brought a tractor and a air seeder to our tractor show, to the Some Bitch show, and had it on display. But we demoed one last fall, and they'd love to get us into one, but it might be a couple years yet. But it's good, high quality equipment.
What's the most unique tractor that's come to the tractor show?
Man, there's been a few.
Yeah.
Buddy brought a Buckeye tile plow. He's here today. I left my phone over there because I knew as soon as I got up here, he'd start texting me. He brought a Buckeye tile plow. The Steiger we just bought was the first tractor that showed up at the show last year. That got like 560,000 views on my Instagram just because it's cool and loud and whatever. Man, there's been, Troy, what's the most unique? We've had a Farmall M road grader from the 50s, just a Case 9390 Steiger, like they only sold a few of them this side of the Mississippi.
Gotten into any European tractors like Lamborghini or anything like that?
A few small ones, old ones, a friend brings, but nobody, never had a Sami or old Heston tractor either. No Deutzes that I'm aware of. Yeah, nope. So
one thing I've got into, since it's expensive to play on the bigger old cool tractors, I got into the small John Deere lawnmowers, the 110s and 112s.
Yeah.
You had any of those show up?
Yeah. Some guys bring a few, and then we get some trucks. So we call it the truck or tractor and truck show, but we don't get as many trucks. But there's some guys starting to bring some cool trucks from the 50s, 60s, 70s. That's cool.
Do you guys have drive your tractor to school day? Where like everybody still does that? All right. Well,
yeah.
It's like our local tractor show. All the high schoolers will take the tractors to school.
We were just talking about it yesterday. I think the one year, my wife and I were talking about it last night. I think Troy was going to take the 4650 to school, and the turbo blew on it like the night before I was out strip tilling. I'm like, oops. So I think he drove 4440 probably. And then, so we still farm with a bunch of old stuff.
I was going to say, I geek out on all the new stuff and
technology
with all the technology that's in the cab. If you could pick any tractor, what's your tractor you don't have that you want?
Boy, I don't know why. I kind of always wanted like an old Deere, like 9870 with a Cummins, but they had some issues. But just because they're big and cool, and I like that boxy style.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know. I think I got them all, David. I think I've got a.
You heard it.
We've got
no more.
I don't even know how many tractors we got. That's probably a problem. But we've got a 4020, a 4320, a 5020, a 6030, a 8440. I bought a 7520, traded it for a tractor out in Michigan. And it's funny, through social media, the second owner and the third owner of that tractor, it came from Minnesota, contacted me, and we sold it a year ago at a like an online auction at our farm. We were selling some equipment for a neighbor that passed away, and we put a little equipment in the auction, and it went back to Minnesota to the second owner that owned it for 20 years, and they got it back. Found it through social media. I mean, crazy. So me and that guy keep in touch. The third owner and we keep in touch, and that's just kind of weird. But so that tractor, I really did like it.
Yeah.
Loud and crude, shifted terrible. So we took that money and put that money towards a a 9.4 20R.
Yeah. Is that the newest tractor on the farm?
It is. Yeah, that's 2017. Then we got a 400 Steiger HD that we bought from some
the
neighbors.
first thing with DEF?
Second thing, the 400 HD Steiger has got DEF as well.
Okay.
But they're the only two things on the farm with DEF currently. Our sprayer's just barely pre-DEF, and our combines are just barely pre-DEF.
I just heard DEF's going away, so.
That's what Trump said. In Iowa yesterday.
Iowa.
We'll see how that goes. Kind of makes a lot of paperweights out there.
Yeah.
Do you think keeping your overhead low by running some of the older equipment, that's attribute that to a lot of your success?
Yeah. If we'd been making big payments on equipment, so 3 years ago we bought a newer. We put a top dry grain dryer up and done some things, but we were using an old stirrator bin, 10,000 bushel at a time, torture chamber in there, working on that thing. When it broke down, it's 100 degrees and 100% humidity, and we finally had enough acres. We're like, this is crazy. So,
How about land wise? You said you got enough acres. When I think it, I always think I got to buy it. I think I got to go spend another million, spend another something, and buy more ground. What's your portfolio? Did you start and just buy it yourself, or did you really count on the relationships with the neighbors to let you rent it?
So we've got some great relationships with some neighbors, and we've been fortunate. I think all the land we work, pretty much the land owners have come to us and say, "Hey, we'd like you to work it, like that we cover crop." We've got one landlady. She charges us X for rent, and if we don't put a cover crop on it, she charges us 25% more.
Wow. Oh, wow.
That's fair. She's been to some women in ag meetings in Livingston County, which is the county that we live in, and she said, "Hey, I want you to put cover crop on my ground." We do it anyways, so we're like, okay, that's fair enough. So we got long-term leases. I mean, like 5-year, but with quite a few landlords. So we would love to buy some more land. It's just it's hard to find, and it's very expensive.
What does an acre of good farmland go for around here?
I would say between 6,000 and 12,000 in our area.
Yeah.
Depends on the drainage, depends on the field size and whatever. So there's been some sales over 12,000 here recently. So
what do you think it is average back in Iowa, Dave?
Our average in Iowa is about 12,800. We have really good stuff that'll bring 20,000, and then we have some stuff that struggles to get 6,500. But a lot of that is the hunting or recreational ground, stuff like that. So a lot of what I was looking it up just because I geek out on land, and it looked like you guys were a lot of wherever we were. The really good stuff for us is 18, and you're about half of that, and then take our 12s, and you guys are 6s. So,
yeah. And it depends on what neighborhood you're in. Or
but
whatever.
how many bushel corn do you get? We get 250 to 300 on the good stuff.
I've never had that.
Oh,
I mean, our farm average typically we're probably 180.
Okay.
So the state average in 24 was 170. So the stuff that would grow 250 bushel corn is that $12,000 an acre ground in decent sized fields.
good stuff sells good, bad stuff sells bad.
That's correct. That's correct. And, I got a friend, unfortunately, that went out of farming, and he always rented every acre he could find. And I said, "You can't farm marginal ground." He said, "Yeah, you can. You got to have acres." I said, "No, you have to have good acres." And after farming for a while, he ended up couldn't make it because he worked all this poor ground. You can't make it 100 bushel corn. It still costs a lot of money. Even if you didn't pay much rent for it, it costs a lot of money to put an acre corn in the ground anymore.
Yep, money's made in the margins for sure.
Right, yeah.
How big of a scope? How far is like your farthest field?
So we have to go through a city that's almost the size of Canandaigua. It's 26 miles from home.
Okay.
But when we get there, we rent 275 acres from a lady.
Yeah.
So I think
what I noticed driving out here from Rochester was there's houses everywhere.
There's houses. So it's interesting. Colleen and I were talking about this the other day. We've had friends come up from Texas that we met through at Commodity Classic, and we said, "Hey, you guys should come up here sometime and check it out." And my friends that come from Dakotas, wherever they come from out west that's wide open, they said they almost feel paranoid with all the trees.
Oh, yeah.
The one guy from South Dakota is like, "How do you know when a storm's coming?" What are you talking about? He said, "We can see it for hours." And I'm like, you see a lightning bolt over that tree right there and you take cover, or you have an app on your phone. We all look at the weather apps on our phone. First thing I do in the morning, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it was a rough night last night. What's the weather going to do today?" So we always know when the storm's coming. But the guys from Texas and the Dakotas and Minnesota, they are like, when we're driving down the road, they're like, this is scary. I'm like, what do you mean? There's trees, there's houses, there's people. Like, what? I mean, it's just what we're used to. So, yeah, a lot of traffic, wide tractors, wide combines, and traffic don't mix. We've been very fortunate, but it's a lot of traffic.
So we farm by a state park, and COVID was like the worst year to farm because everyone had nothing to do. So they're out by the state park, biking and going boating and all that. I had to wait on bicycles in the tractor. It was terrible.
Tell a story. You were going to drive over one with the hay.
Oh, there was one in the middle of a gravel road. We have a lot of gravel roads, which I haven't seen one out here. But there was we call the fat tire bikes, right? They like to go out and ride on the gravel roads. And I was in the Hagee, and he would not get out of the middle. I wanted to just go right over him. But I'm sure I'd probably be in jail right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do you, with all the old equipment that you're running and upgrading, it sounds like how much technology's in there for setting AB lines and all that? Are you doing any of that, or are you just?
I think 2013 we put our first yield monitor in a combine, and we went to RTK. I think 6 years ago when we decided we were going to strip till with a 6-row and plant with a 12-row. We did that for 2 years. Less than ideal, but Troy would lay the fields out pretty good. And then we were using Trimble on the strip tiller and John Deere on the planter. That was, it wasn't impossible, but when we went to 12-row strip tiller, 30-foot air seeder, and 12-row planter, and 12-row corn head, and 30-foot bean head, it just made life easier. But I think 6 years ago we switched to RTK.
Yeah. The last thing I got before we get to some questions, because we're getting towards the end there, is I saw you have beer. That's some bitch beer. Where is that at? Is it here?
We didn't bring any. At the summer meeting, we brought a cooler of beer, and after the meeting we stood around and had beer.
So how did that come about?
So a friend of mine, he serves beer at our tractor show, and we decided when I asked him if he would serve beer, I think this is the third year we'd had it. He said, "Well, why don't we brew a beer with something you grow? You grow wheat. Why don't we do a Belgian wheat beer?" So, of course, acronym guy here said we're going to call it Some Bitch Beer, and we have Some Bitch Light as well. And that acronym is some unbeatable malted barley intended to cause happiness.
Oh.
So we have some Bitch Beer. So come to our tractor show if you ever could make it out. We told these guys, too, that half hour from our farm is one of the coolest things. The Grand Canyon of the Northeast is Letchworth State Park. If you ever come up, and it's not frozen like it is now. Even now, it would be a beautiful drive through it, but part of the park is closed.
The cover crop outside looks awful white.
So where we're taping this, there's a lake 200 feet away, and there's people out ice fishing on it today. And we have got some nice warm weather for you guys today, right? Like a high of 15.
Yeah.
But hey, no snow. We've had 77 inches of snow so far this year.
Wow. And
it's not even the end of January. So you guys made it in without a blizzard, and you're going to hopefully make it out without a blizzard.
Hope so.
So that's pretty cool that you guys could pull that off.
Yeah.
So
I got stuck in Texas last week from that ice storm. I'd probably still be there.
yeah.
Well, just one last thing.
Yeah.
How do people find you? If these guys don't know you, which I think all of them do, but how do other listeners find you?
So on Instagram, it's farming_somebitch, and we have a YouTube channel called The Way We Farm. We tried using the Farm and Some Bitch on YouTube, and the algorithm would not push the swear word. So I consider it not a swear word, obviously, but so we switched to The Way We Farm. So we got a YouTube channel that we post sporadically on. So
how do people buy shirts? Because I posted it on my Snapchat story last night, and I'm telling you, I have like at least a dozen people that are like, I want to buy that.
DM the Farm and Some Bitch.
You don't have a store somewhere? Or?
No, we do not currently. We talked about selling merch, but not yet. So, but if somebody sent,
Well, I imagine you have someone at the tractor show.
We do. So Troy's wife, our daughter-in-law, she sells shirts all day. So who would thought you'd ever sell a shirt that says Some Bitch Show on it? And we sell from 250 to probably 300 a year. And to be honest with you, of the whole show, that's like one of the most stressful things. We've changed the design a few times. This year, Troy's got a baby on the way. We got a new granddaughter on the way. So we're like, we are not messing around changing the design. We're just going to go get a couple hundred. So last year, because we didn't want the red people and the green people fighting, we put a 1206 on shirts, and we put our 60/30 on the other ones. So the red guys could be And then my friend Marcel's sitting here. You don't have an Oliver shirt yet. Oh my God! And we might never have one, Marshall. Sorry, buddy.
Just run through the washing machine. It'll fade to the right.
That's right.
green.
That's right. So, anyways, yeah.
Huh. Well, what do you guys got for questions? I think Colleen's got a microphone there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll open it up.
Questions for Tom? Questions
for you guys.
Yeah.
Any? Bueller?
So you were saying last night, you do hogs, which is something that in New York State, almost none.
Yep.
If she's looking for somebody to ask a question, you want to talk a little, tell these.
Yeah, so in Iowa, hogs is, there's more hogs than people by like 8 times.
Yep.
There's 8 times more hogs than people in there, and we're contract growers, so we don't own the pigs. We own the barns. We do the labor. We do the loading. We provide the water, heat, all that kind of stuff. I did not. My barns were built in 1998 in the crash of the hogs, but I did not build them. We bought them in 2013. It was actually my ticket back to the farm. So I was working for Pioneer up in north central Iowa, looking for any way to get back to the farm. There just wasn't a spot for me, and I found that, bought it at auction, and we got it paid off in 2023, and so just in time to spend a bunch more money to remodel it. But no, it's been good. The manure is really nice for the farm, especially with where fertilizer prices are.
Yeah.
All right, we do have a question over here.
All right, this is for Tom. With the challenges that we had this past year growing crops in New York, are you going to change anything on your farm in 26?
I think we are. I think we had some beans, our bean crops, soybeans and dry beans were a disaster. I think we're going to pull back a little bit on starter fertilizer this year because I think some of the phosphorus is still out there. We're probably going to broadcast the same amount of potash and ammonium sulfate and keep the nitrogen rate the same. We've been growing dry beans since 2012. We started strip tilling them, and at that time, nobody in the area strip tilled dry beans. They're like, you can't do that. You got to plant them conventional and cultivate them and pull them and thrash them. And I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of work. The old 8820 would love to grind through them. That's what they do in the Dakotas and Michigan. Right now, the price of dry beans is so low. The fellow that asked the question happens to be my crop insurance agent. We actually tripped a crop insurance claim on the soybeans, but the dry beans didn't. So this year we might be the first time since 2012 we don't plant any dry beans.
Okay, we have another question over here.
These are for you guys. Hey, so we tile a lot on our farm, and we're putting them in at 25-foot centers and then splitting the 25s in wet spots.
Wow.
So do you guys tile everything, and what spacing are you putting in out there?
So I'll talk particularly to my farm, which is right in the middle of Iowa, about 20 minutes north of Des Moines. It's fairly flat. We have what's called drainage districts, which were put in anywhere from the 1910 to 1940s that were a lot of hand dug, a lot of trenched, clay tile. And those systems are starting to fail. They're just overworked, overtaxed. And so we would love to pattern tile everything. We need it. We are hurt by too much water, more than too little. In fact, 2012, that horrible drought was actually one of our better years on the farm. I think we had 212 bushel corn that year because our ground is so heavy. But I would say most of our pattern tile is going in like 40 foot, 30, 40 foot is narrow. I would say a lot of 50, 60
There's a lot
foot.
of 50s, yeah. I just pattern tiled my farm this year, and I'm in bottom ground, so mucky soils, sticks to the wheels, sticks to everything. And we actually narrowed it up. My contractor wanted to go 50. They do a lot of 50s across Iowa. So as I sell farmland, we get tile maps all the time. Most of them are 50s or 60s. But the thicker, more dense ground, mucky soil, we get into 40s, and so they split it there. Where we had designated wet spots that we knew from doing research the year before, then they split them to 25s or split them into 20s. Yeah.
We'll give a shout out. We helped start a North American Conservation and Drainage Expo, which is a bunch of tile contractors and farmers that install their own tile. It's every other year. It'll be in, I think, Peoria, Illinois next year in 27. So they're off this year. There's like 800-900 people that come, and it's just a bunch of people in the industry and like tile suppliers, all the different plows, all the different tracers and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool.
Just another conference, but it's specifically tile. Yeah. What else?
Got one over here.
You're only 20 minutes away from the Drain Tile Museum. where the drainage tile started in the singular.
Which it said we're only 20 minutes away from the Drain Tile Museum. So for all of New York or all of the...
That drainage tile was founded in Singular.
Okay.
Huh.
We'll have to, when we come out and see you for the tractor show.
That's right.
come
Well,
by.
We have a lot of square, flat, and black. I always say square, flat, and black is like tall, dark, and handsome. That's what everybody wants. And it is, if we're split into 160s or 320s or 40s, it's really our smaller pieces, our 40 acres. And so like tabletop flat, I think I only go 3 feet from one end of the 80 to the other end. So there's not a whole lot of fall on some of these farms, but pattern tile is, huge. Every farm that I sell that has pattern tile on it, I bet doing the analytics on it, I think we get $1,000 more an acre if it's truly pattern tile. But
It
you
should,
gotta,
because it costs you $1,200.
but you got to have the
right?
map.
Yeah.
If you don't have the map, tell you what, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So, what else?
Do you get into a lot of regulation on tile? Is that heavily regulated?
Not too
here?
bad. I mean, we're pretty fortunate. We work well with our NRCS office, and they come out and help lay it out. And there is no drainage districts per se.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something that my friends in Ohio and you guys talk about that we don't personally have in our counties that we farm in. But we tell them what we want to do and where we want to outlet it. And we do not have the problem of 3 foot of fall on an 80-acre field. Not at all.
It's flat. How about grain bins? How many people in the room have grain bins? Do you guys all store? Everybody waiting for the right number?
Yeah. Pretty crucial. We always say sprayers, grain bins, and tile are the 3 things that really pay back pretty quick on a farm.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And then, like in your area, how many people have heated chops?
I would say most.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny. I've got friends that farm even in North Dakota that don't have a heated shop. I'm like, what do you do? Look how fat I am working in a heated shop every day. If I sat in a house and did nothing all winter, I shouldn't say nothing, but most guys in New York State have a heated shop to work in, and I'd say probably our shop has one of the highest return on investments too. The people are like, oh, it's hard to justify. Well, we're in there 5, 6, 7 days a week, pretty much year round. I call it corporate headquarters because every day starts there, every day ends there, and I mean, it's where the magic happens.
We've had the opportunity to travel all over the country and interview people from all over the country. And I'm thinking out to Froberg's place. You know, they got small equipment. Their biggest tractor is just tiny.
It's down in Houston, yeah.
And strawberries, you know, we went to Tulare, California. And you go, we thought California, you didn't think agriculture either, but you get north, kind of in the middle there, not northern, but not southern. And there's
Valleys,
a ton of agriculture there and so many crops and new machines that we'd never seen, from pistachio pickers to way dump carts are to, I mean, just completely different, to U.S. sugar and how they do sugarcane down in Florida. Agriculture is very diverse, but what I figured out is everybody's very resilient and they come up with a solution for it. But some of them have shops and some don't. The Midwest, our equipment, if you get into really expensive equipment, I think it's just to protect the equipment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anybody
Anything
else?
Anybody tell me what the price of corn is going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to learn that. We have our speaker, Mike, is going to talk markets today.
Yeah.
And he's going to hopefully give us a little bit of hope, Mike, maybe.
Anything else you want to let everybody know?
We appreciate this organization. Can't say enough good about New York corn and soybean growers. We're glad you guys came out, and we're great to see the turnout. As Brad said earlier, our sponsors that sponsor this, and it's New York agriculture, probably just like where you guys are. We're all competitors, but I'd say for the most part, we're all really good friends and would do anything to help each other out.
Perfect. Well, we'd like to thank the New York Corn and Soybean Growers Association here, and thank all of you for listening, all the listeners online, whatnot. Every time Corey signs us off, Corey, how do you sign us off?
So crack a cold one. You deserve it. Crack a Farm and Some Bitch beer. I do want to say, we've only been here, 12, 16 hours, and the enthusiasm that you guys have, I can tell the camaraderie you have in the room. It's pretty cool. So thank you for having us. We'd definitely come back.
Yeah.
So
thank you, fellas.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.
Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit Podcast.